Not too long after its unveil at the Bharat Mobility Global Expo 2025, BYD has the Sealion 7 for us to drive out on the road. Now there is a lot that this car packs, and certainly it's going to take a full day of testing to see exactly what all is different and how does it feel out on the road. Now this targets the premium end of the electric SUV range, so there is a lot riding on this car. Now, in terms of the design, especially up front, BYD hasn't really gone out crazy like you have on the Mahindra. It's a very simple look, but it is very modern. You've got the headlamps on the top, DRL that goes into the bumper. A traditional look, unlike today's cars where you have the headlamps on the bumper. That's not the case here. Bumpers are nice and sculpted, lots of lines and cuts. You have a good amount of intake for the air to go through, cool the systems down. You've got nice power lines on the bonnet, and in terms of the width, it is nice and wide, wider than the Ioniq 5 from Hyundai. So road presence is definitely there, especially at the front. Now over to the side, what you see is a nice coupe SUV-like design. As you can see, the roof is tapering down towards the tail. The shoulder line also rises up. And then you have the massive 20-inch wheels because this is the higher spec performance version. The 2930mm of wheelbase assures good room on the inside, and the almost 5-meter length aids road presence with a 170mm ground clearance to take on Indian roads. So definitely substantial, and it does have all the makings of a nice big car. And at the rear, what you have are plenty of sporty elements. It starts with the spoiler on the roof, which has nice 2 ducts as well. You've got another ducktail spoiler on the tailgate. These nice LED tail lamps are connected with a nice DRL. You have a lot of detailing in them, which looks premium. Badging, of course, you have the EV 4-wheel drive badge because this is the 4-wheel drive version. 2 motors, front axle, rear axle. You have the Sealion badge, of course, and then you have the 4.5S. That denotes the 0 to 100 kph for this car, which is 4.5 seconds. Low down on the bumper, you have a chunky cladding, almost mimics a diffuser, but obviously it's for aesthetics only, but it does add to the overall tough look of the car. On the whole, the design uses an evolved version of the Seal's design language dubbed Ocean X, but instead of the sleek look of the sedan, it has the features of a full-fledged coupe SUV. Now inside the Sealion 7, what you will notice is just the amount of room you have. It is nice and spacious, and once you're seated in, you are nice and high as well. So a typical SUV driving position. Now the seat is set at its lowest height, and even then you have a commanding view out the road. So visibility is very good. You have these nice quarter glasses as well, which help thick A-pillars, but they don't really get in the way. What is a bit of an issue though is that rear windshield, which is tapered quite sharply, and that means your field of vision from the rearview mirror is quite narrow. So not a lot that you can do about that. Then of course you have the quality of materials, which is extremely high. Everything you touch and feel is padded and soft touch, and that just gives it the feel of a big premium expensive car. Now I'll get to the main event in a bit, which is this massive 15.6-inch touchscreen, and because of that you have an absolutely buttonless dashboard, nothing on top of you that distracts you. You have the vents that are nice and low. Below that is a big tray that you can keep your phone on, and you also have a 50-watt wireless charger with cooling. Cooling obviously necessary because wireless chargers heat up the phone a lot. So, and even the placement of the vent is nice and effective. It'll cool your phone right down. Below that you have the drive selector, which uses a lot of crystal that you see on high-end BMWs and even Volvos. Around that are some metallic buttons that get this nice knurled finish as well, and some piano black haptic buttons which look really upmarket. Below that you have 2 cup holders that can vary in terms of size. If you want a deeper cup holder, all you need to do is just push it, but if you don't, at the press of a button, it will rise up. Below that, further down, you have a massive cubby hole, so you can keep plenty of stuff down here. And you also have a lot of space down here in the center tunnel with charging options as well, a USB-A, a Type-C port, and a 12-volt charging socket. So overall, it is very, very high-end. Now speaking of the seats, you have these nice sporty seats, but the cushioning and support is superb. And of course, you have electric adjust as well. Ventilation is also an option for both 2 seats in the front. So very, very comfortable, and long hours in this will be absolutely effortless. Then we have the instrument cluster, which packs in a lot of information, and information that you really have to sort of figure out where everything is, because it is all scattered all over and there is a lot to take in. So if you're trying to look inside and see where everything is, Then you have this monitor right here that is constantly detecting your face for drowsiness, for alerts, and that will notify you saying, you know what, you need to rest or you need to look ahead at the road. But how can you when everything is crammed in here? And speaking of crammed in, the 15.6-inch touchscreen is the control center of pretty much all the features. HVAC, media, modes, themes, it's all packed in here. While it is a lot to take in, the resolution is superb and the response is very good too. What's also nice is the 360-degree camera that offers a clear and high-quality image and video feedback. The Sealion 7 also gets an impressive 12-speaker audio system, but no fake EV sounds coming from that. Now that is the front of the Sealion 7, but of course because of that long wheelbase and the amount of space on offer, you want to know what the backseat is like. Now inside the back seat of the Sealion 7, what you will find is lots of room. The wheelbase is nice and long, which means knee room is not a problem at all. You have some space under the front seats for your feet as well. Headroom is not an issue even for tall passengers. Even if you're over 6 feet, you will not struggle for headroom. And the seats are very, very comfortable. Lots of support, lots of cushioning, and you can also recline them to a nice comfortable angle. You have 3 individual headrests. You have a center armrest with cup holders that reveal themselves, very high quality, and you also have center AC vents. If you see here, tucked away are 2 ports, a Type-C port and a USB-A port. Now yes, you don't get sunblinds, but the windows do get a bit of a tint, and that definitely helps. And you might wonder, with a rising belt line like this and a roofline that tapers, that you might feel you are hemmed in and cramped, but that's not the case here. Because of this big glass roof, the sense of space is very, very good, and the practicality overall is excellent. Also a nice flat floor, which means even if you move to the center, you're not gonna struggle at all. Yes, the backrest is a bit of a problem because of that hump of the center armrest, but apart from that, room wise, it is not an issue at all. This thing is excellent when it comes to backseat space. The Sealion 7 also features a large 520-litre boot with an electric tailgate and also a 58-litre frunk that can even carry trolley bags with ease. So big thumbs up on practicality. Now for all its technological prowess, the Sealion 7 is pretty similar to drive like every other EV. Very powerful, don't get me wrong. It has that instant torque, 690 Nm with this performance version, over 500 horsepower as well. So a lot of power, but then it also has a lot of weight. It weighs over 2 tons, and that means progress, even though very quick, you do feel the weight. That said, while it may not feel light-footed, it has enough grunt to accelerate from 0 to 100 kph in just 4.5 seconds, just as BYD claims. But also impressive are the kickdown times for 20 to 80 kph and 40 to 100 kph, both of which are under 3 seconds. Now the performance numbers are obviously very good, but what you also get to fiddle around are drive modes between Eco, Normal, Sport and Snowland. Sport obviously means you have instant response. But even in Eco or Normal, this car feels pretty adequate and in fact quite quick as well. Now when you talk of an EV, you have to talk of regeneration. Now the Sealion 7 gets 2 modes between standard and high. However, even with the high setting, you're left wanting for more. You cannot do one pedal driving, and overall the regen is not as strong as you would have liked. You also miss out on paddle shifters, so that little bit extra control that you have with the regen is not there. All you get is a toggle switch right here to control between standard and high. Also, once you get to triple-digit speeds, while the powertrain itself is silent, you start to hear more of the outside world, particularly at the rear, as while the front windows are double glazed for better insulation, the rear ones are not. What you can also change is the tuning for the steering and the brakes. 2 options for both comfort and sport. And in sport, for the steering, there is a little bit of heft, but it's not really noticeable. You have to really look out for it, and you can only feel it in the really tight turns. Otherwise, the steering remains very light and very, very easy to maneuver. And the same goes for the brakes as well. Even if you engage sport mode in the brakes, you get a bit more bite from the brakes, but that's about it. Overall, it remains very natural, very progressive, and it has a good strong bite, so that's good. On the topic of ride comfort, the Sealion 7 gets FSD's frequency selective dampers. What that means is the suspension adjusts itself according to the road you're driving on. Now over the ruts and small cracks it is fine, but it does have an underlying firmness to it, especially with these 20-inch wheels. The bigger wheels tend to register a thump as they go over bumps, something that's more pronounced with the 20-inch set that comes with the dual motor version. What also ups the safety on the Sealion 7 is the level 2 ADAS. You have plenty of features, all of what you expect with a completely automated driving assistance system is there. But the best part is you can individually switch off every single thing. Whatever you don't need, you can go manually and just turn it off, like automatic braking for our chaotic traffic conditions. That's always erratic, so you have to turn that off. Lane keep assist also, sometimes the roads are not well marked, it confuses the system. That can be turned off. So the Sealion 7 has a lot of cool features, but the one that they absolutely pride on is the driver alert detection. That is basically a sensor right here that keeps scanning your face. And if you're not looking straight at the road, if you're looking into the cluster, if you're looking into the screen, then it will basically realize that you're not looking there, like I'm not right now. And at some point, keep eyes on road, it is going to start scolding you. Now that is a bit weird because they've crammed everything into this screen and the instrument cluster. So you do have to take your eyes off the road quite a fair bit. Thankfully though, you can turn that off manually. You just have to fiddle around into this massive screen. Just don't do it while you're driving because obviously it's unsafe and it will detect. And it's not like the warning lady only comes if you're not looking at the road. Even if you take a nice big yawn, she will let you know that you need rest. I'll just mimic a yawn right now.
Tiredness detected. Please take a rest.
Okay, thank you. Now yes, while the features are well and good and practicality is almost a byword for this car, you just cannot ignore the performance. Yes, people who buy this won't really primarily buy it for the performance, but the fact that you can absolutely smoke cars in this segment, ICE cars in this segment, and even some EVs, that's worth praise. And then of course you have the all important topic of range now, because this is the dual motor version. It's 542 kilometers, that's the claimed range. But as we know with BYD cars, claimed range is very, very close to the actual real world range. And that is the magic of the Blade battery. With two powertrain options, there are two sets of range figures as well. 567 kilometers NEDC claimed range for the single motor version and 542 kilometers for the more powerful dual motor variant. BYD cars in our experience come close to their claimed range figures, and though we weren't able to do a full range test on this short drive, our mixed driving conditions still yielded an equivalent range of close to 500 kilometers on the single motor version. At an estimated price of 55 to 60 lakh rupees, the BYD Sealion 7 confidently wades into the crowded space of electric cars in India. Similarly priced crossover include the Kia EV6, Volvo C40 Recharge, and the Mercedes-Benz EQA, of which the Kia comes the closest on size and spec. BYD sales and service network is small compared to these established brands, but it is growing. As for the product itself, it is one of the best of its kind at the price, and a premium electric car buyer should definitely have it on their shortlist. And the lady just doesn't come up if you're not looking at the road, even if you yawn.
Keep eyes on road.
Arey haan bhai.
Keep eyes on road.
Yes.
Keep eyes on road. Keep eyes on road.
Arey